at Thomas Jefferson University College of Architecture, the Built Environment. It's a fancy way of saying that I get to teach freshmen and sophomores who already want to draw, but I'm 30% complete. I have been a visitor in North Philadelphia for 20 years. It's my privilege tonight to share with you some lessons that I've learned not from college but from my neighbors, and not from my professors and colleagues but from my students. I really want to talk tonight about a student who decided that reaching out to youngsters to get them interested in historic preservation would best be done by a children's book that's about to get published, or a fellow student who invited me to a podcast in London talking about awareness. But unfortunately, right, this is the question that my students are asking me about. What is Philadelphia? And the answer to that question, as we were all in the streets, was coming from empty desks. So I looked to my colleagues, right? And lots of my colleagues all over the place are doing all sorts of things. Check out Design is Protest, and you will see various amazing things happening. There was amazing things happening on our campus, students getting together, having conversations. You're already gonna have seen this slide tonight several times, because if you look up redlining, this is the image that you get. You get our city. And a lot of people say, well, that happened in the 1930s. You've already heard tonight why that's continuing to be an issue. But also on the side there, in Francisville, you've also heard tonight about the history that is being lost while we're paving it over with new stories. Those stories are really important. And how do we get students to listen to and tell the stories of our neighbors? These are just a few images of history and people. If you are a designer, you have an obligation to build for the future. So we have a lot of stories to tell in this future that we are writing for ourselves right now. Where are you going to find yourself in this, is what my students said to me, and I don't have a very good answer for it. So instead, we looked at what North Philadelphia has already shared with us. The artist Doc's Thrash, and the preservation of the Doc's Thrash house. It's an amazing landmark that you can make a difference with right now. We went and had reviews and critiques with kids in North Philly and around the world. We drew and we drew and we drew until we couldn't see each other's drawings anymore. And the students said, please ask us more questions. So we chucked the syllabus and we asked the students more questions. What do you think design school should look like? What should our curriculum be like? What do you value? What kind of university do you need to go to for the future that you're going to live in? What would you like to share that we can do right now? And I'm going to share with you images, and I've gotten these students permission to share with you their words in their words. For the image on the right, the student said, on one side was a building designed by the architect. On the other one is a building designed by people. I want to learn about the building designed by people, not about the architect. When asked, what could we do to diversify school right now? They said, how about you give us access to diverse entourage? That's the scale figures we put in our drawings. How about you give us professors that look like us? How about you give us reviewers that look like us? I have 21,000 screen grabs of 21,000 comments that students gave me between 2020 and 2021. My photo library was not even 21,000 photographs before COVID, and these are all the words that students are willing to say. Most of them are in Post-it notes that only I can read. But here's some of what the students said that they wanted. This is how they want class to run, which frankly was a tougher rubric than the one that I had written for them. This is how they want to be reviewed. These are their best practices. This is what second-year students value as best practices. These standards are harder than the NAB, NCARB, and AIA standards. This is how they were going to have class. This is how they want to have final reviews so that everybody can speak, including the quiet students who don't like speaking in front of people. These are the images that students started to build based on those best practices and those reviews, including review by Post-it note, which means that you have to write down something and you can't, quote, be nice. You need to tell me how to get better. That way they can put the Post-it note in their sketchbook and remember it for later. This is the image of that space that that student wanted to hear about in Rome. But if you can see the Philadelphia embedding itself in that Roman bath, that is from the student, not from me. So then the question is, associates, designers, faculty, colleagues, what are we going to do? How do we answer their questions? Bernie is not enough to put in your drawing. How do you appeal to students and tell them, show them that you want to welcome them into this profession, into this city, into this world? These are some of my students on the left, overlooking a flooded Delaware River. On the right is the Mander Playground, which is slated to get rebuilt in an amazing way with an amazing BIPOC designer. There are projects like this happening all around our city that our students are hungry to get involved with. Mentors are not required, they are priceless. The NCARB list just came out this year. The most valuable thing that you can do to get somebody registered is to be a mentor. You can model solidarity. You can show up. You can insist that if you're showing up, somebody else should show up with you. Join Dark Matter University, and in the words of one of my students, the world is so much bigger than just this skill figure. Be a mentor, reach out, and be the difference in a student right now, tomorrow, and next week. Thank you.